cannot call up, that which you cannot put down.
So this happened 16 years ago. I was in middle school, and during reading time I found an old, tattered-looking book on one of the shelves. It was an esoteric book that talked about ghosts and ghouls and other weird things. I focused my attention on one of the chapters, entitled Bloody Mary. This is the name for the arguably evil Queen, Mary I of England, who had over 280 religious dissenters burned at the stake. This chapter gave directions on how to summon the ghost of Bloody Mary. The book said it would have to be at night, in front of a mirror, and you would have to chant the words Bloody Mary between 50 to 100 times for the ghost to appear. Simple enough, and the book even showed an image of what she might look like. Anyways, fast forward a few weeks, and I'm now at a giant cookout at an old, rural Massachusetts home with many kids my age, around the ages of 7 to 16. I, with all the confidence and courage of a boy just hitting puberty, decided to tell a group of them about how to summon this ghost. Everyone was actually excited and decided to follow me into this horror. I and about 10 other kids found a giant full-length mirror in this dark basement for us to all sit in front of on chairs and do this experiment. It was perfect. Being still a little scared, I got my dad to do this with us the first time, and he wasn't taking it seriously at all. At 9:30 p.m, we started our first try while my dad was joking around at first. No dice. It was still a little light out and we chanted Bloody Mary, but nothing happened. Not discouraged, we all decided to try it again at 12:30 a.m. This time, it was pitch dark in the room, and my dad wasn't there to change the atmosphere. We were serious, and it was a bit creepy as we all started chanting Bloody Mary. Imagine a bunch of kids chanting this. All was silent outside and inside as we rhythmically went on, spellbinding. By about the 75th time we said the words, something happened. There was an eerie white shimmer at the corner of the mirror, spaced out horizontally a few feet. We went on, 5 more times, 10. Then, with the speed of lightning, a ghostly face zoomed into the center of the mirror facing all of us. The face was pure white light, bald, and had huge dark spaces where the eyes should be. The slits of the nose and opening of the mouth, also black. Bloody Mary stared menacingly at us all. A bunch of little kids just performed a seance. As soon as she appeared, we all screamed at the top of our lungs and booked it haphazardly up the stairs to turn the lights on. All of us were shaken, but we all talked amongst each other, verifying that we all saw the same thing. Ghosts exist, people, and still to this day I sometimes get a little creeped out at night in front of mirrors. Me and a friend were alone. I'll call him Matt. Matt was physically smaller than me, but in the grade above me. I was a sophomore in high school. He was a junior. We found online a game about bargaining with an entity. You make a deal with the entity and play a game. If you win, you get whatever you bargained for. However, if you lose, the entity wins whatever the opposite of what you bargained for was. I.e., if you bargained for love and lose, the entity will ensure you never find love. Or if you bargain for money and win, the entity will ensure you find some wealth. Well, my friend had lost a few precious family heirlooms, a couple rings that were his grandmother's. How, I do not know. So he decided to make a bargain for the rings. I was the one who knew the setup, so I set the game up and sent him in to play. You never actually see the entity. Its turn takes place when you are out of the room. To play the game, you need 2 dice and 2 cups, with a few other materials I'm not going to mention. Set the dice inside your cup on your side of the table. Flip your cup, which also rolls the die, and ask the entity to make a bargain. Then state your bargain. After that, if done right, you feel it. You know it's there. You leave the room and wait. Once you hear the other cup flip, you'll know it has played. Anyhow, I sent Matt in and went back to Matt's room. Just messed about on my phone until he walked in a minute later. Matt said he felt its presence in the room. He started playing Destiny. I was on my phone, until we heard it. It sounded like a cup being flipped and a die spinning around inside, except much, much louder. I thought it happened right outside Matt's door. We both ran in to see, and it was sad to see that Matt had lost, meaning he wouldn't ever see his rings again. Matt was understandably upset. We were to destroy the entity's dice when done, but Matt had another idea. The rules specifically stated the same person may not play twice in a row, without at least a week in between the last game, and the person may not bargain for the same thing. He asked me to play, and asked for his rings for him. I reread the rules, and it didn't say anything about it, so I complied. I set up the cups and flipped my cup, and asked to play, bargaining for Matt's rings. Let me tell you, I felt it. It wasn't there to bargain. It was mad. I could tell from how the air became stale, and it seemed the temperature slightly rose in the room. It was mad. I quickly hustled out because I certainly did not want to be in the room with an angry entity. After only a few seconds of walking into Matt's room, I heard the dice. We hurried in, and to our dismay, the entity's die was gone. I checked the warning tab online and read this out loud.
Warning. If the entity's die is unable to be found, may God help you.
That night, we decided to not leave his room. That fell apart after 5 minutes. I was on Destiny, just messing around because I wasn't good by any means, and my friend was in the living room. I had paused the game to go check on Matt. He was fine, just on his phone. On my way back to his room, I passed the back door. I stopped from what I heard. It sounded like a single person screaming, but the voice was distorted, as if multiple people were screaming terror from the same body. I grabbed Matt and pulled him to the door. He heard the screams, and they stopped. I ran to the kitchen and grabbed salt. He stayed at the back door watching it. We salted the doors and the windows and stayed inside his room for the rest of the night. We were both obviously freaking out a bit, so he decided to play Destiny just to calm the nerves. We heard a growl behind the door as soon as we booted it up. Growl is a weird word. A scowl? A hiss? A combination of all three, like a human trying to make all three of those sounds, but it had some kind of guttural noise behind it. We were petrified. That was the last weird thing that happened that night. We woke up the next morning. I went home and forgot about the occurrences. That being said, that was about a year ago, if not a little more. Matt has been down a life of unfortunate events. He was sent to the psych ward about a month after this. When I was 12, I was what you could call the edgy type. I needed entertainment, adrenaline, since I didn't do stupid teenager stuff. I played every ghost game in the book and nothing happened. The last I played was Darumasa. I didn't even play it right. In the game, you're supposed to recite something as you wash your hair and then immediately get out and leave the bathwater in the tub the next day after. The woman follows you around and you have to yell something at her when you see her to get her to go away. I didn't play it right. I didn't leave the water in the tub. I didn't say the ending spell, but it didn't even make sense since I didn't see Daruma-san myself. A few months later, I started to have vivid nightmares of a lady with black hair and a torn white gown. Her face was non-existent. She was soaked in water. She led me to weird places. She choked me in my dreams. But all of this time, I told myself it was just lucid nightmares due to stress. Then, one summer day, I was walking home with my dog. I saw a lady in front of me stop with her own dog in hand, and I didn't want to deal with meeting someone, so I moved to the other side of the street. I walked home, sat on my front steps to enjoy the day a little longer. Across the street and behind a tree, I saw the woman from my dreams. She was standing there and slowly moved her hair away from her eye to look at me. I never opened my front door faster. After that, I had the weirdest dreams. A lot of them involved water and weird figures. I've never had a dream since that day where I didn't feel vivid, and I remember every minute of it. They weren't dreams, they felt like I was in another universe when I went to bed. We moved. The new family did a huge religious cleanse on the house. Wonder why. One night in my new house, I had a dream that Daruma-san returned. She dragged me down a dark hall and shoved me into a bathtub. The bathtub was white and vintage. It had black vines growing in it, and was filled to the brim with water. She shoved my head under a few times and picked it back up. She called me pathetic. She told me she won. And then, the last image I have from the dream is me shooting up from the water, despite her grip. I fought her. I never did that before. After that, I haven't seen her for a while, but I can still tell that something lurks. I can still tell that she's here. She's just waiting for the right moment to lunge. Please, please, please don't play this game. It ruined my life, and I don't want it to ruin yours. Whenever I think of it, I can still feel her hands tightening around my neck. It's traumatic, and I'm probably going to live with paranoia for a while. Water scares me now. Just wanted to share my experience here. I realize that Bloody Mary is a typical schoolyard legend, perpetuated by dares and fears, but I had my own experience when I was younger. Me and my brother were desperate to have any kind of paranormal encounter, and we both figured Bloody Mary would be the easiest way to do so. We went into the bathroom, locked it, and prepared ourselves for anything to happen. We said Bloody Mary 3 times and waited, hearing nothing and figuring we had to say it 13 times. Around the 8th or 9th time we said it, we were interrupted by the saddest and most desperate sobbing coming from a woman. The sound came from behind a shower curtain. It sounded like someone who had just experienced a painful loss. We looked at each other, and he elbowed me to check it out, to which I fearfully tore the shower curtain open, finding nothing. The sound had stopped when I got closer to the shower anyway, and I always figured I either had a close call or my brother was just messing with me. However, I do wonder how he would have made such a sound without the help of smartphones or speakers that we have today. Have you ever wondered what makes your hair stand up on the back of your neck, especially when you hear a noise in a quiet room? Or the tingling feeling or chills running up your spine when you're alone and you noticed a shadow in the corner? Beware of Nosh, the shadow stealer. And if it knows you've seen it, you may be in danger. The delineation of the two worlds come together before your own eyes, in front of the mirror, showing you a glimpse of itself. As far as I know, this game is supposed to be like the Bloody Mary or the Candyman games, but usually nothing ever happens, right? When I looked at my pictures, I saw a shadow hand reaching for me in my shadow. I know I still have my shadow, so I think it has to be its entire body you have to catch in the photo for it to work. The shadow stealer is always there, waiting to take people's shadows for its consumption. Non-believers are the best tasting ones for its appetite, but believers are a delicacy to it. If your intentions are impure, as you do this game, you might fall victim to it. I tried this game one night when I was alone. Of course, I had to try it a couple of times, as I didn't see anything the first 2 times. But when I finally saw the hand, let's just say, I will not try it again. If you are brave enough to see whatever it is lurking behind you in the dark, then here are the steps. Things you'll need before you start. 1. A tall, full-length mirror or a bathroom mirror. 2. A digital camera with a flash. Smartphones will do. 3. Incense. Any will do, but sage or spiritual incense works best. 4. A white candle. Tea lights work well too. Step 1. Light the candle and turn off all the lights in the room. Then sit in the darkness until you feel the presence in the room, or for 1 minute. This game works better after midnight or at 3 a.m. Take a couple of deep breaths in front of the mirror and keep a hold of the candle in your hand. Walk in a circle 3 times in a counterclockwise direction while chanting aloud,
I summon thee, Nosh, the shadow stealer, by the light of the candle, and I cast thee into the mirror.
After the 3rd time, place the candle right in front of the mirror. Step 2. Light the incense with a candle and walk slowly away from the mirror, waving it slowly side to side. Once you're as far away as you can get, take a deep breath and walk forward, waving the incense up, down, left, right, over and over, and chanting,
Into the mirror, Nosh the shadow stealer, I cast thee.
Once you reach the mirror, stare into your own eyes and say with conviction,
I want to see you, so show yourself, Nosh.
Walk backwards 2 steps and repeat the conviction, then swing the incense in a big circle in front of you, over your head and down near your knees at arm's length, or as high or low as possible within your restrictions, and then push the smoke towards the mirror. Walk as far away from the mirror as you can get and place the incense down safely. Step 3. Grab your camera and slowly step toward the mirror, then stand about 2 feet away. Dim your screen all the way down and lock the focus towards the mirror for a faster flash. Take a couple of pictures of yourself with the candle still burning and without the flash. Now, blow out the candle and snap a picture at the mirror in complete darkness except for the light of the dim screen. Turn on the flash and take a couple in quick succession. Don't move for 30 seconds, then snap one last picture without the focus lock on. Step 4. Now, say this closing statement.
I release you from the mirror, Nosh the shadow stealer. My shadow is mine and only mine. Goodbye.
If you do not complete the closing statement, it gives Nosh the power to stay in the mirror and eat off your shadow whenever you cast your reflection and your shadow's reflection on it. Turn on the lights and find a safe place to examine the pictures away from the mirror. If all has worked properly, you may see Nosh standing next to your shadow, reaching to take it. I only saw the hand reaching, and I have had some nightmares that week. Nothing major though. I do know if your shadow is taken, you'll experience terrible nightmares, terrible luck, and you may get sick, or even worse, die. If you are successful, however, catching Nosh the Shadow Stealer on your camera before your shadow is taken will give you lucid dreaming capabilities, amazing luck, and or health and or wealth. You'll definitely know if your shadow has been taken because casting a light source on your body shouldn't produce a complete shadow. It's best to check in the sun. If all looks fine, then Nosh may have only nibbled on your shadow. So look for notches or bite marks in your shadow. It may come back for you if it likes it, so beware of dark rooms with one light source shining upon you, and all the darkness surrounds you. Your shadow may cast itself behind you, and that's where it feeds. If at any time during the ritual you see any movement in the mirror besides your own movements, stop the game, turn on the lights, and say the closing statement in the mirror. Good luck. So the following stories on the rest of this video will be stories involving Kokkuri-san. Kokkuri-san is the name of a Japanese spirit communication game, similar to the Ouija board. In order to make contact, participants will need the following: a piece of white paper, a pen, and a coin. Start by writing yes and no on the paper, followed by a torii gate in between. Then the Japanese alphabet and the numbers 0 to 9. You need a minimum of 2 participants, and you need to sit around the paper or opposite. Some instances call for a window to be opened slightly, so that the spirit may enter the room with you. Place the coin on the gate, then your index finger on the coin, and invite the spirit to the seance by saying,
Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please come and join us.
If the coin precedes the yes area on the paper, it's time to begin. From this point on, you may ask the spirit questions as if you would with a Ouija board. The coin should move to reflect the answers to your questions. When you finish the game, you ask the spirit,
Please go back to the gate.
When the coin goes back to the gate, you then say,
Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please leave us and return.
The coin should move to the yes area at this request. But if it doesn't, you need to keep communicating until the spirit agrees to leave. Be sure to thank the spirit for his communication with you, and then the game is complete. It's important to remember to stay calm and take it seriously. Apparently, if you mess around, the spirit will not communicate with you. Don't take your finger off the coin or the spirit won't ever leave. There are many stories about Kokkuri-san out there, so I want to share my own experience. This happened when I was in high school. My friends and I decided to play Kokkuri-san for a bit of a laugh and nothing more. We weren't prepared for what was about to happen. My high school was in a suburban city. It was a pretty normal school. There were some kind of scary rumors about the school though. Some classmates said that the piano in the music room plays a solemn collection of notes by itself at night. Others said that there were these strange, unexplainable human face stains on the walls in a certain room. And of course, there were stories about Kokkuri-san. One day after school, we were pretty bored and we had nothing to do. Nearly everyone had gone home, but a couple of my close friends stayed behind. We were pretty excited to see what school was like when the sun went down. Rain was lashing the windows and wind was blowing. Perfect conditions for scary stories. Someone mentioned Kokkuri-san. I didn't really want to mess with that, but my other friends were super excited to do it. They set up everything before I knew it. So, feeling a bit creeped out, I agreed to join them. We started by asking kind of dumb questions like, who does who like at school? Does the teacher wear a wig? And basically any yes or no questions we could think up. I felt like one of my friends was moving the coin, and I was surprised that everyone else hadn't figured it out. They were so excited to ask more questions. Then, one of my friends asked, "How old will I be when I die?" Then Kokkuri-san replied with, 20. That was chilling. My friend laughed nervously. Then we all laughed. Then the door to the room burst open. It was one of the seniors, one of the ones who told everyone not to mess around with Kokkuri-san. He was really annoyed with us. He snatched up the paper and threw the paper in the bin. It played on my mind. We didn't get Kokkuri-san back to the gate. We didn't end things right. Strange things started to happen. The next day, one of my friends said that he saw a ghost. Shortly after, a load of students said that they had seen a ghost at school. Some said they saw a black silhouette in the corner of the room or coming out of a wall. One girl said she saw a little girl stood at the end of the hallway. It was as if the school had become obsessed with the paranormal. The teachers grew a bit concerned. The students were talking about ghosts so often that the teachers eventually prohibited the mention of ghosts and Kokkuri-san. So we would talk in hushed circles after school about ghostly goings-on. Sometime, after a female teacher had an accident at school, she said she saw something and it caused her to faint. When she fainted, she fell down the school stairs. She didn't say what she saw. I guess she didn't want to frighten us. We all knew it was something paranormal. She said she fainted, but who's to say she wasn't pushed? The most chilling thing of all was, as Kokkuri-san predicted, my friend did die. Came off his motorcycle in the winter of his 20th birthday. When I heard about it on social media, I remembered that time at school. It has to be a coincidence though, surely. This happened when I was in school. When I was younger, I was friends with the kids in our neighborhood. We would walk to and from school together. One of my friends had an older brother who loved scary things. He was into the occult, urban legends, and would sometimes tell us scary stories. One day over the weekend, I think once a week or something, the adults in our friend circle would get together and have a game night. It was great because all of us kids could hang out together. We used to hang out in this empty lot. It was by an abandoned building. It was cool. It felt like it was ours, you know? So we were playing baseball in the empty lot, and the sun was beginning to set. My friend's occult-loving brother turned up. He started to tell us his new scary stories and rumors. Whenever he would come and see us, we would gather around and hang on his every word. We never got bored of his stories. It was officially dark by the time he mentioned Kokkuri-san. When he finished describing Kokkuri-san, one kid in our group blurted out, "Let's try it tonight." I really didn't like this idea, but my friends seemed excited to try it. I didn't want to be the only one to resist. We created a plan to meet after dinner whilst our parents would be playing their games. We all piled in an upstairs bedroom while the adults were immersed in their game downstairs. We all agreed that we would ask a question each while we set it up. We all placed our fingers on the coin in the center of the paper. I asked first. I wanted to get my question out of the way. It was such a long time ago. I can't remember what question I asked. So I asked my question, but nothing happened. I asked again. Nothing. Finally, on the third time of asking, the coin began to move. It slowly moved towards yes. Then the others started to ask their favorite questions. We were all shooting each other glances, trying to figure out who was moving the coin. Some asked about the location of an item that they had lost. Others asked about the weather tomorrow. It was all pretty vanilla stuff. One child asked about how he did on a recent test, and the coin spelled out,
I see you playing from my house.
We all started to speculate about the abandoned house near where we play. There was a rumor that the owner took his own life due to an insurmountable debt. We were shocked. We were nervously chatting when the coin began to move again.
Ko, ro, su.
Kill you in Japanese. Immediately after the coin moved to the last letter, the room began to shake. An earthquake, I thought. We were all frightened by the sudden earthquake, so we took our fingers off the coin. We ran downstairs to our parents. Some of my friends had begun to cry. We burst into the room where our parents were playing their games. They were annoyed at us for scaring them and disrupting their game. We said we came running because of the earthquake.
What earthquake?
My friend's dad asked.
There was no earthquake.
We were speechless. How did they not feel that? We started to get frightened of Kokkuri's son's curse because we didn't end the game properly. My friend's brother said that we needed to tear up the paper. Nothing really happened, but I remember being really scared for the longest time. We promised each other we wouldn't play near that abandoned house anymore. I used to get chills every time I would walk past it. I didn't want to see someone in the window looking at me. Thankfully, it got demolished not too long after. We have all grown up now, and one thing I teach my children is, don't mess around with Kokkuri-san. Hello watchers and listeners, thank you so much for watching. As always, a big thank you to all of the Reddit users who kindly allowed me to use their stories. If you want to help support this channel, you will find links to both my Patreon and my Teespring store in the description below, so feel free to have a look. And the biggest thank you to all of you who continue to support me. I truly do appreciate it. And remember,
Papa loves you.